universities that are affiliated with the AAU in the region. But as you might be aware, there are a lot more universities that are as yet to take the membership of the Association of African Universities. Well, universities that are not members of the AAU are missing quite a lot. First of all, let's appreciate this one point, that the AAU is a main driver from the angle of training and capacitating the human resources of the continent, the agenda of the African Union 2063. So if an institution is not on board, it is missing the opportunity to leverage on the opportunities that are provided by the association in the area of training, human resource capital, training their own staff and students, the opportunities that are provided by the universalization of quality management on higher education on the continent, and many other opportunities that are provided.
Et en 1963, il y a eu une réunion à Khartoum, au Soudan, où les chefs des institutions d'enseignement supérieur ont décidé de créer l'Association des universités africaines. Finalement, la création va se faire à une conférence qui s'est tenue à Rabat au Maroc, et la création de l'Association des universités africaines a eu lieu le 12 novembre 1967.
I'm Prof. Hassan Kafi, AAU Governing Board member, representing for East African region. Also, I am the president of Plasma University, Mogadishu, Somalia. We really like to give a call for universities in Africa, especially in East Africa, those which are not members still in the Association of African Universities. We are calling them because we feel the organization is ours. It represents the voice of higher education in Africa being seen all over the world.
Looks like Africans can marry 4 or 5 wives and keep them together. But the North, they don't keep many wives together, but you can marry, in America you can marry at 10 o'clock in the morning, divorce at 2, marry again at 6, and then call all those people to a party to celebrate the divorce. The concept of polygamy. Then I began from adopted children. I would like any one of us to give us one word in their mother tongue for adoption.
Translation.
Yeah, translated. But one word, yes, one word. The concept of adoption. Adopting a child. Let's start from Nigeria, the favorite. Ah, yes. In Yoruba, you have one word for adopted child. In Uganda?
I don't know Benny.
Eh?
I don't know Benny yet.
I don't know Benny. Yes.
I know you I think it's Mwamba or Motom.
One word.
That's foster parenting. And that's foster parenting.
So translated, what does it say now?
It says foster parenting. The Yoruba says foster parenting.
But see now, from what she's saying, she's raising another issue now.
Yes.
The other issue now is foster.
Yes.
Now, what is foster now in our language again?
I like that.
Foster.
Chestnut.
Do you know in many languages, even cousin doesn't?
Yeah. Cousin doesn't.
You know, like your brother, your the brother to your father, his children are your brothers.
Yes.
Our culture have no cousin, no nephews, no nieces, we a sister, we a father, we a mother. So we use communal life. The eldest become the father of all. And because of that culture, that's why when the foreigners came, the applying direct rule is not so much work.
Which one? Now, you read a book by Barack Obama, and there is this concept of half sister, half sister, half brother. Now, what? Think about it. Half brother. Half. So it will take you a lot of pain to understand the idea of a half a sister.
And step brother, step brother.
Yeah. So those are concepts. So in Nairobi, they resolved the issue, and now today the MP is being cremated. The mother of the son and the foster mother of the three agreed on a consent to cremate. Again, what's the word for, in our language? Languages, what's the word for cremation? Yes? You will say they are going to burn the body. Because it never used to happen in Africa. How do you burn a body? My culture is almost like the Yoruba culture, where we have a lot of respect for the dead. Give them maximum respect, because sometimes they say you will never buy them a shirt. Whatever else you wanted to do, you cannot do it now. This is the last respect. But now a lot of people are getting into this thing of burning bodies. So then the other African asks, is it the land you lack? Are you lacking space to bury? Why are you burning? Why are you burning our brother? So that's another concept, which cremation. Maybe some cultures do it, they don't have land to bury. So those are concepts from our cultures, and we all have different ways of reacting to them. So now, when we're teaching political science or whatever we are teaching, we have challenges. When we are teaching, learners have challenges. You can imagine a situation where you are coming in with the idea of half-sister. You are coming in even with the idea of cremation. You know, you are talking to people whose background does not have cremation. You are coming in with ideas of adoption. Because for us, a child whose parents had died naturally found a home among the brothers, the sisters, the people just continued living. But now we are saying you can go and buy. In Swahili, the word used for adoption is to buy. Swahili. So when you have adopted a child, they say he bought a child. You know, this man, he bought a child. Yeah, that's the
For adoption.
So there is an
adoption. The adoption, the word is buy. The Swahili word means to buy a child. Because there was no idea of adoption. How would you? Yeah. So now, of course, the ones who say buy are also now being pejorative a little because they are not saying very nice things about you.
Sure.
Yeah. So learners have a challenge. You, the teacher, you have a challenge. We can move on. We want to look at learners as people who have their own mind, who are able to learn, whom we can facilitate and enable to learn. Because we are teaching concepts which may be new, but most of the time these concepts are building on some background, which sometimes is not like ours. For example, the idea of adoption, the idea of cremation, you are teaching something which is not common, which is not in this culture. So you have to build, you have to even take a lot of time to explain to them what these are. So this is what we're going to talk about this morning, about threshold concepts, about those concepts which are very difficult to understand, but once we understand them, then we cross the Rubicon. Yes. So sometimes the mind assimilates, sometimes the mind accommodates, and sometimes the mind rejects. Sometimes it's not good to disturb big people. I don't know what to do. You'll excuse me if I... no, I don't want. No, I don't want to disturb my sister.
Disturb your student. Disturb? We understand.
Let me disturb Maxwell. Please come. Please come. I have selected him because you can see he is well fed. Please sit. Yes, sit. Please sit. Sit. You know, it's easy for him to illustrate my point. Yeah. Then I'm also looking at you. You're not useful to me. Yes, madam, please. She's the one who is useful to me. Please come. And occupy.
She is also well fed.
Yeah. She's also very well fed. So now imagine. Please sit. No, don't move it away. So now we have these two. They're occupying the seats. If I was to ask her to come and sit in between, it's possible. They can accommodate her. Please come and let's see how they can accommodate you.
Today, not today.
Yeah, try. Anyway. Anyway, let them accommodate you. Don't sit to anyone. Don't move the chair.
Don't move the chair.
Somehow we can accommodate her. We can accommodate her. There is some space.
There's this place.
Now, if we ask even the smallest person now,
No, I'm the one.
no, the smallest person now and say now, accommodate her. It may not be possible. Even in this arrangement, it's not possible now to accommodate her on the chairs. So now, thank you, sir. Thank you. So now, the mind works the same way. The mind finds a place to rest because it has some preparation. So you are teaching me about cremation. Maybe I have an idea. Maybe it wasn't the laptop. So maybe I have an idea. I can accept I learn. But when I have no idea, when there was nowhere for the new idea to embed, then I must reject that idea. The mind rejects. So the difficult things that we are teaching often have to be given a basis, a ground on which to rest. So the ground were the chairs. We could accommodate big ideas, but then it comes to a point when if there is nowhere to embed the new idea, we reject it. The mind rejects it and doesn't accept. So there are reasons for rejecting, there are reasons why we may not be able to learn. The mind refuses to learn, and those are the things we must think about to solve. So I then move to the type of learning we are calling surface learning. Simon, I'm about to get there. So, surface learning, which involves scraping the surface of material to be studied. You do not have to process the material, you don't have to remember too much. It's generally about low order cognitive skills. So you're just able to remember, you are able to recall, and that is about all. In surface learning, we tend to emphasize recall. But you remember, because it is surface learning, because it's recall, we forget very easily. We forget very easily. We are not able to remember because we did not keep it in mind. Let's just try this. I know that 60% of the people in this room do not know my name. Yeah, 60%. Let me just try. No, we've met too many times. My name.
You're a professor.
One. No, I know that people are asking. If you met, no, I'm wasting time. No. Yeah, please. Yeah, my name.
Professor Kadamba.
Okay, fair trial.
Let me try.
No.
I can try.
No, you.
I can try.
Yeah, try.
I didn't know.
You know why he got it? Because he had written it somewhere. And that's my point. Because he had written it somewhere, that's my point. So we meet. How are you?
I'm good.
Yes. Then I'm okay. Then she tells me her name. No, even as I'm greeting her, hello, how are you? Yes. I'm not looking at her. So I'm not connecting her name to her face. So if we met, even if we met in the streets 5 hours later, I'm not remembering her name, I even saw her. That's what happens. So what do we do? So when we are looking at somebody and we meet somebody and we say, okay, thank you very much, Mr. John, we are rehearsing the name. We are putting it from the short-term memory to the long-term memory. Just try that. You've met people here, you have not talked to some of them, you'll never remember them. But that person you've been talking to, when you go for tea, you are talking to that person, where are you from? Sierra Leone, what do you do? Then you connect the name, Sierra Leone, the department. Have you ever asked why every time you want to save a name, you say Pedro Francisca? Yeah, that's the way you save it.
Yeah.
What you are trying to tell yourself is, when you want to, thinking about Pedro, who is it? Francisca. But if you just save Francisca, and maybe your phone has got 4 Franciscas, one day you call the wrong Franciscan and start telling her stories that you don't want the other Franciscans to know. So we by rehearsing, we are taking things from the short-term memory to the long-term memory. So when we're teaching maths, for example, we get them to rehearse by practicing. We tell them, they practice, and therefore they learn. So one way of improving our learning is to move it from surface to the long-term memory. Let's move to the long-term memory by doing. So learners learn better by doing. Let's see what they do on the next slide. I hope it's playing.
Try to recall your experiences in school. Who did most of the talking in the classroom? Was it the teacher? Or was it the students? For many years, the teacher did most of the work in the classroom, including all of the planning, disciplining, educating, and evaluating. While the teacher did all of this work, the students spent most of their time passively sitting and observing the teacher. Participation tended to be limited to answering questions posed by the teacher, with the teacher informing the student whether they were right or wrong. However, there's been a growing movement towards student-centered learning. This 21st century approach to teaching and learning has dramatically changed the roles of both teacher and students. The student-centered approach to learning allows students to become active participants in the learning process. The teacher is still present, but rather than doing all of the work, he or she acts as a facilitator of learning, co-creating curricula and even classroom rules alongside the students, encouraging the students to get involved, keep trying, and learn from their mistakes. The modern student-centered approach to instruction is obviously a huge change, but this change is informed by research into the human brain and the ways that people learn. Prior to the 1950s, learners were seen as receptacles that knowledge could just be dumped into. Cognitive psychology and advances in neuroscience tell us that this approach was not ideal, and that to be most successful, learning needs to be an active rather than a passive process. Increasingly, the view that learners' minds can be filled up with knowledge is being rejected. Here is a quick, simple summary of an active learning process. First, the learners need to do something. Taking formal learning as an example, the students might attend a seminar, view an e-learning module, read an article, or participate in a course. Next, the learners need some time to reflect on the thing they've done. This can happen concurrent to the actual doing of the thing. For example, if I attend a course on how to teach, I will probably think about teaching before, during, and after the course itself. Learners also benefit from collaboration and discussion. This doesn't always happen, or sometimes it happens in informal ways. Some examples include students in a course might be prompted to engage in group discussion or group activities. They may informally discuss the seminar on lunch break, or they may go home and talk to their friends and families about the topic. All of these strategies stress the fact that learning should not occur in a vacuum, or else alternative points of view and clarifying discussions cannot occur. Finally, the learners need to apply what they've learned. A new driver can't just sit in the classroom and learn about driving. They need to get behind the wheel of a car. Just like a surgeon can't just read textbooks and talk to surgeons about surgery to become a good surgeon. In both examples, the learners will need to practice their new skills, and over time, they will become more proficient at the task. The student-centered approach to teaching may look quite different than what you remember from your school days. Remember that these changes are informed by research and are used to help promote student learning and success.
Thanks for watching. So, the emphasis is on doing. But doing, even just thinking is doing. Giving them an opportunity to think is doing. But what they are doing really is moving from the short-term memory to the long-term memory. That's all they are doing. Because when you do something, many of us learned how to ride a bicycle a long time ago. That's a psychomotor skill. But because you did it, you cannot forget. You may have some problems going up a hill, but somehow you will not forget because you did it. So doing it just enables you to move things from the short-term memory to the long-term memory. Doing it simply means repeating her name so many times that you cannot forget. Doing it means repeating an exercise in mathematics, half base times height, so many times that you cannot forget how to do it. But when you don't do it, when you don't repeat it, when you don't go over and over again, you keep it in the surface, in the short-term memory, and you forget. So now, the human mind is then compared to the way a computer works. My sister Josephine is helping me with that, because my own computer has backed up. But many times when we save something on a computer, you must make sure you have saved. When you save, you are taking to the long-term memory of that computer. If you don't, it's kept to the surface, you look for it and don't get it. So deep learning is compared to machine learning, where sometimes called end-to-end learning, meaning you learn up to the bottom of the layers of knowledge, and therefore you do not forget. Again. So what do we do when we want to go toward deep learning? Using transformative pedagogy. They have been talking about on the video. They were talking about student activity, which is not new. We've always done that. We have always known that when students do something, they learn better. But now all we are saying is, can we bring it to the fore? Can we try and make it the centerpiece of our teaching? When students are heavily engaged in the learning process, they will not forget. For example, in the video, you see a situation where you are just talking about it. So you are teaching history, whatever you are teaching, and then you get them into groups and tell them, during lunch, after your lunch, get into your groups. Of course, after lunch, people usually gossip about other things. So now you tell them, now get into your groups and try and find out the similarities between the struggle for independence in Algeria and Zimbabwe. What are the similarities? What are the differences? Now, the fact that they have to talk about it, they are engaged in learning. Because they had you talking, but now they are the ones going to talk. When you talk about something, you own the information. Deep learning is essentially about them doing. The doing is in terms of analyzing, constructing, interpreting, finding solutions to problems. So we present cases, we present content, but learners must be involved in the idea of applying it, analyzing it, putting it together, or judging the information. So when we apply learning to authentic situations, like what you are doing in role play, in the pedal modules, you are involving them in learning by doing. So, characteristics of deep learning are briefly those: owning the material, interacting with the content, discovering organizing principles between the content, and being able to make conclusions based on evidence. We do that in literature, we must do that in mathematics. All the subjects we teach, we are always looking for evidence. Why do you say this? Why do you say this? And when we make our students able to answer the question why, we are making them to become planners, to become, they are sensible leaders in whatever they are going to do. Because they must look for logic, similarities and differences. That is about logic. So, we want them to learn, yes, but sometimes there are challenges. Learning is obstructed. Let's move to the next one. We were together on Tuesday, and you remember this was an issue at one time. You remember when we were at the University of Ghana? One of us said, a model, this is not a model, because it's not scientifically proven. Remember that argument?
Yeah.
So now, the understanding then is, a model must be scientifically proven. That's the understanding. So that if you have a model of a laptop, you can make a model of a laptop from clay. That's a model, a clay. Then you are saying it must also be scientifically proven. Okay. You can make a model of a girl, put the girl in a window, and put clothes on her as a model. How you are telling the buyers of the clothes, if you buy these clothes, you look like this. So that's a model. But now you're saying that model must also be scientifically proven. So that is now a misconception of what a model is, right? Because a model can be a diagram representing an idea. It can be a real object representing an idea. But for me, that was a useful pointer to a possible misconception by people. Yes. So there is troublesome knowledge. In whatever you're teaching, whatever subject, physics or anthropology, there is always troublesome knowledge. So let me just give you the examples I have encountered as troublesome in the things that I teach. Then you'll also give me yours. So whenever there is a new concept, the learner is unsettled. They are not able to understand because there is a problem. They need time to be helped to understand the new concept. So some of the ones I've met are, for example, the idea of thesis. Are students actually defending a thesis at maybe even a PhD? Then an examiner asks, from what I've read, I have a problem. What is your thesis? I've been reading your work, I've even examined it, but what is your thesis? And the student says, sir, this is the thesis. But the book is there. So the student understands thesis to be the book, the document. The examiners think about a thesis in terms of, what's your argument? What are you saying? What's your argument? I was telling you about John Wamwara's thesis on polygamy, and he was saying the West, the North, has a lesson they can learn from Africa. You can read the thesis later on. He is very interesting. He is doing law and religion, and very interesting thesis. So his argument is the Western concept of polygamy is not the end all. There are others who practice polygamy in a better way, and it has benefits. Then students also have issues with theory and research. There are problems with even research problems. What is a research problem? And he says, My problem is lack of money. So he's genuine. That is his problem. And that's the way he understands it. So sometimes it takes me 2 weeks just teaching people how to write, how to structure a research problem. What is not known. They have problems with analysis and so on. And you'll find other challenges in other areas. So perhaps you can tell us, just briefly, write down one word, one concept in your area, which is troublesome. In your area, what you teach at university, just one concept which is troublesome. I prefer that you write because then you are committing yourself. That's a commitment.
In my own area, I don't teach research methodology up to
let's listen to
up to PhD level.
Yeah.
And I see that one concept that students confuse is the concept framework and the concept review. Why I say that is that conceptual framework, theoretical framework, conceptual review, theoretical review. And in the examination, you look at them, you see the confusion of their faces when you throw the question what they are doing. People will call it framework, whereas they go to review, to do review. When they say, how do they do framework actually? You feel like somebody is talking about model which you put up there. Okay, when you try to find out the framework they are using, you see many things they are talking about. What Professor Demba said, what Naman said, what Dewale said, what Muganda said, and so on and so forth. When you are talking about this, you are talking about the review. You are not picking a framework which you are doing. Because when you put up a model, it is expected that model you picked up should guide your entire research which you are doing. Either you want to prove or disprove that particular model you are dealing with at that point in time. And when you try to say this time with that number, people tend to get confused on that area. You show on their face. If you tell them to do it again, they say, where will I start? You are throwing me back to go and start afresh.
And it's a punishment.
And it's a punishment. It's a punishment.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. That was a mad, no, let me not be fair. Let me not be unfair. Anybody. Anybody. I was going to say female, but now I have seen the composition. Any one of the members of that team?
Okay, I teach econometrics at graduate and undergraduate level. So what I discovered is that whenever we are working on stationary stochastic process, for instance, AR1 model, HAMR1 model,
then maybe I just raise a question, okay, can you solve this? Then you realize that students will be, no, we don't know, you should solve it and all sorts of things like that. So that's why I know.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, sir. This table now, we have had 2 men, 1 female now. Yes.
Yeah, thank you very much. I teach both at the undergraduate and postgraduate level a course known as behavior modification because I'm also a counseling psychologist. So a particular area of problem for my students is identifying the theoretical framework upon which treatment is anchored upon. For instance, when behaviors are classified into 3, when you say deficit behavior, that is when you are building up the treatment package, just like medical professionals do. It's expected that you look for treatment packages, that is issues that will address the deficit to help the individual to build the behavioral capacity.
Yeah.
So they are not able to, that is one deficit. We have excessive behavior. Excessive behavior is being, those who talk excessively, those who are something, they are excessively manifested. Those a desirable behavior that people should express their concern. So in the course of the trying to mentor these students, we discover that they are not able to place the treatment that will be used for deficit behavior, the treatment that will be used to modify excessively manifested, and the other one, inappropriate behavior like nymphomanics, stealing, all those issues. So that is the major area that I have discovered in my course of handling the course.
Thank you. Deficit behavior. Thank you, Ndindi. Thank you very much. Table 4 was this.
Yeah.
Or which, no, they're pointing it this way. So let this be table 4, table 5.
Okay. The concept adult education is always a problem to my students across board, from 100 level even to the 800 level. It is when they get to the PhD level that they start to, okay, this is what it is. And the issue is that they always equate adult education to only the literacy aspect of adult education. So we struggle to explain. In fact, in the 100 level, it's just that they'll say, because I don't have any other course to go to, that's why I'm here. So we'll start to explain, telling them, especially now when I come into the class and I tell them I'm in the manpower training and development specialization, they will start looking at me saying, what has that got to do with adult education? So we struggle along the line, and it's always very difficult to get them to understand this.
Adult education, continuing education. Finally, table 5.
Let me share mine. I teach a course called Sustainability Accounting Reporting, and I handle people who are already chartered accountants. And this particular subject area is not covered in professional accountants area. So there's this concept we call economic value addition.
Value addition.
Economic value addition. But traditionally, economic value addition is looked at in financial terms. So they use a concept called accrual concept. But when you get into sustainability, it's no longer accrual concept. It becomes more like cash-based entries that are paid. So what the related accountant is like being able to move away from that accrual thing to then you are wondering, don't you think we are missing something that not being considered? But along the line, they get to know that, well, these things are applicable.
Okay. So their problem is that they come in with a certain mindset. Yeah. Now you're telling them, yeah, that's good, but now. Okay. Thank you very much. So, one more.
Yes. So, the term here, the concept is pedagogy. And for those who have who come from an education background, they probably had the word andragogy, which means teaching and learning of adults. They say, why do you want to teach us? Because pedagogy is like teaching of children. Why do you want to teach us as children? We are adults, so it's really andragogy. And so mostly they have encountered the previous meaning, and they have not understood that this word is used across the board. And so I have had the opportunity to explain that in fact both of these words come from the Greek language, and I went to school in Greece. So pedia is child, and pedagogy is the teaching of children, and andra is man, and andragogy is the teaching of men. And so where is the woman? Because we actually have gynecology, which is the treatment of women, and it also comes from Greek. In Greek, gyneka is woman. So these words are not directly transferable, and over the years, pedagogy has been accepted as the common nomenclature for teaching across the board.
Okay. Pedagogy for everybody, yeah, and andragogy for a few. But I don't know about Ghana. That's how successful is adult education in Ghana? You are not Ghanaian?
No, I'm a Nigerian.
Nigerian, no.
Yes.
Nigeria, no. Ghana?
Yeah, we do have a department.
Now it's school.
Yeah, but what about nationwide? Is it successful? Is it going on? Do people attend?
Yeah, the numbers are quite high.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. So now, those are concepts in our areas. I know each one of us has written something, but because of time, we'll give you another opportunity, another 20 minutes to add more to what you've done. So let's now look at some of the stumbling blocks. What Dr. Muganda has just mentioned is one of the, we might call it a personal barrier. A personal barrier. Usually, it stops us even from liking each other. You are in a departmental meeting, and whatever the chairman is saying, you are not listening. Even if the chairman says, now we have got you money for research, in your mind, what do you hear? There's no money, and he has selected his friends for that's what we do. Those psychological, attitudinal gender biases, they are so powerful in our communication dynamics that sometimes you don't know. I don't want to use the examples from the political arena, but even from our own professional areas. The chairman of department is talking. He's saying very good things about the growth of your department.